This is something that the companies all across the board have been doing since the pandemic era, what they call overhiring. A lot of these companies saw the growth in how people were relying on tech during the pandemic when they were home. They were obviously ordering a lot more from Amazon because they didn't want to go to the grocery store if they were at-home workers. And the company hired to accommodate that. And now they don't need as many people. But I heard your earlier point, Carol, about AI. I think that's part of it. But I also think that part of it is when these companies go through periods of opportunity where they see a lot of growth, they're seeing that trend line and they're hiring for the future. We're seeing it right now with AI. These companies are building out data centers. They don't know if they're actually going to need all of that capacity long term, but they better make that deal today or else they might not have it when they need it. So we do see a lot of anticipatory investment from these tech companies over time that sometimes they need to pull back on. In big tech, we haven't seen as big a pullback as we have in the past few years since the pandemic. It's really been a change in the culture, this drive for efficiency, for reducing bureaucratic bloat. And it's not just a line they're throwing out there. We are seeing my colleague Matt Day wrote a really interesting story I encourage everyone to read about AWS and how AWS was at the forefront of cloud, really inventing the market. And in the era of AI, they have fallen back in preference for startups. They had that big outage we talked about last time I was on this show. And some of the employees are attributing that to bloat, to this bureaucratic culture, too many people working on the same things and things not getting done fast enough. So I think, although I hate to see people lose their jobs, I think that is where a lot of this is coming from, the idea that we need these companies in the age of AI to be working faster to try to catch their competitors.
I see a headline like this, Sarah, and I immediately think back to the prominent other headlines that I saw in the last week about big layoffs or mid-sized layoffs at a tech company, Meta Platforms, laying off 600 people who work in AI, and then Target retail, not necessarily tech, but Amazon straddles that, right? And we don't know the details of these layoffs yet, but Target to cut 1,800 roles, 8% of its headquarters team. Taken together, is there a story with these three headlines?
Well, I think that the Meta headline and the Amazon headline are certainly related because they're all attributed to this idea of trying to move faster, to cut a lot of the, maybe unnecessary workforce, maybe workforce that they do expect one day will be augmented by AI tools or are already starting to be augmented by AI tools. But like we've said before, we don't know if the AI tools are actually making people more efficient. That right now it's more of a hope that will be the case. Certainly in coding, it's had a big role. I'm not sure, because we haven't been able to confirm the report just yet, I'm not sure if these are roles in coding. When it comes to Meta and AI, it's really interesting because they are still shuffling around the leadership and therefore the direction of this very expensive super intelligence team that they pulled together over the course of a few months earlier this year. And it seems like that is something that could give the potential of a slowdown for that company, but a lot is riding on Meta's AI efforts. Both companies, Amazon and Meta, I think we are going to have a lot to learn from this week in their earnings, which are coming Meta on Wednesday, Amazon Thursday. So I think that is going to be very key.
Yeah, totally agree with you that I feel like the earnings this week are a big deal to see that those AI investments are paying off. Hey, in the meantime, we're watching very closely what's going on with Qualcomm. They don't report until November 5th, but I'm looking at a stock, Sarah, that is up 12%. At its highs was up nearly 22% today. And this is after unveiling some chips and computers for the AI data center market. We know this is something that has made Nvidia just on fire and at the center of the AI universe. What do we know about Qualcomm?
Well, they already have a major customer for these chips in the form of Humane, the Saudi company. And so I think that is giving investors a lot of hope that this can not only give them a very strong position in the AI growth as an alternative to Nvidia, but also help make up for some of the revenue lost by Apple, who was a major customer, going to in-house chips. So I think they see it as very positive for Qualcomm. Of course, this chip is also getting a lot of buzz for its ability to hold quite a lot of DRAM memory. So I think, anytime that someone can make inroads in chips versus Nvidia, the stock market is going to reward it, but we'll have to see if they're able to take on some of those big tech customers over time, or what their customer base is going to evolve into if this becomes a big part of their portfolio.
Yeah, I mean, time will tell. I mean, I was looking at our BI analyst in the Ian King story, basically saying, it's too soon to call this a serious challenge, right, to NVIDIA's dominance. Even modest share gains, though, in the over $500 billion AI accelerator market could translate into billions in incremental revenue. I mean, right, even this pie is so big, and it just seems to grow at this point, Sarah, that even a piece of it, or a decent piece of it, it could be a lot for Qualcomm if it all plays out.
No, absolutely. There's so much data center build out happening right now, and happening over the course of the next few years. I think we're going to continue to see these multi-billion-dollar deals across the U.S. and around the world. So I think that any player that can get in on that build out it's really significant, and I think that the time is really now. Chips don't last very long once they are unveiled. They maybe last 3 to 5 years before they're obsolete. So I think for those deals that are in the making in the moment, we're very interested to see what Qualcomm's gonna cook up.